to take a few moments and talk about contrastive structure, which you can find on page 178 and 179 of your textbook. Contrastive structure is something that I have briefly talked about in the past, but in Unit 4 they give a name to it and they discuss it a little bit more in depth. Contrastive structure is often used when asking which questions, which. So you set up two things and then you ask a which question. Which do you want? Which do you like? Which do you need? Etc. The example that they give on page 179 is they say, you'll see in the signing box there that they have a lady demonstrating these signs. I'm going to show you what she signs. She says, yes, I want 2 children. Okay? Yes, I want 2 children. She says 1 boy and 1 girl. So that, setting up her boy here and setting up her girl here, or the boy she wants and the girl she wants, is a form of contrastive structure. So 1 boy, 1 girl. So I could ask you a WH question, which, and I could say, children do you want 1 boy, do you want 1 girl, which? Which would you rather have? So by saying the 1 boy and saying the 1 girl, when I point and say which and then point, I'm saying, you want this one, do you want a boy, or do you want this one, do you want a girl? And I've set them up in my signing space by just doing a slight shoulder shift. So we've talked about that. The other way contrastive structure is used is actually by indexing and setting up 2 individuals on either side of your body. So for example, if I wanted to tell you about my parents, I could say my mom and set her up on my left side, my dad and set him up on my right side. From that point in the conversation, whenever I point back to either of those locations, you know whom I'm speaking of, whether it's my mom or my dad. So I could give you bits of information about each of them without saying my mom, my dad. I say it once, my mom, I've set her up. From that point on, I point there and you know I'm talking about my mom. So I could say, okay, her name is Martha, his name is Larry. I could say, all right, her favorite color is blue, his favorite color is purple. So contrastive structure just refers to when you're setting up 2 things on either side of your body, and then it's accompanied by a which question, but it also can just be to give bits of information about 2 individuals. An example of another which question, if I wanted to ask you if you would like water or pop to drink, I could say, alright, so drink you want, pop's over here, water's over here, you want which? Do you want this one pop? You want this one water? Okay, then you responding back could just point. You wouldn't even have to say water. You could just point to where I had set up the water. So that's an example of contrastive structure. You typically only use contrastive structure to discuss 2 bits of information. So if I wanted to tell you about all of my siblings, so I have a large family, I've got 6 brothers and 1 sister, so I could not use contrastive structure to set them all up. So I couldn't say like my sister is here, then my brother, my brother, my brother, my brother, and line them all up and then point back to them. That would get really confusing. You only have so much signing space. That's not how it would be done. You would use something else to discuss 3 or more siblings or family members, which we'll get into in the next video. But just know that contrastive structure typically only used for 2. Okay, and it does not only have to be people. Like I said, it can be items, so it can be pop or it can be water. It can be places, so I could set up Columbus and I could set up Cincinnati, and then I could talk about going back and forth between the 2, or I could give you bits of information about that city and that city. Once I set them up, they are there to stay until I set something else up, and I can just refer back to them by pointing. I don't have to keep doing the sign. So that's what contrastive structure is. So make sure you read through page 178 and 179, the mini dialogues that you guys are going to do this week use contrastive structure within those dialogues, so you'll get to see a couple more examples of how contrastive structure is used while signing. So if you have any questions about contrastive structure, feel free to let me know, but go ahead and read through both of those pages and look at the examples they give for contrastive structure. Watch this video, and then if you have questions, go ahead and let me know. Okay, thanks.